Testing 1 2 3 testing 1 2 3 testing. All right. Well, here we go in a 5 4. Greetings, travelers. Welcome to Earthshine Education's weekly little segment we call 3 o'clock coffee. You will see my mouse moving around as we're just looking at a couple of news articles that I thought were kind of interesting for the week. This is not a news article in front of us right now. This is actually just a picture of Mars. I believe it's from the Hubble, looking at the southern hemisphere of Mars, and you've got the southern polar ice cap, pretty easily seen here. The reason we're going with this first is, well, our first subject for the week has to do with Mars. And that is this. This is the Mars helicopter. Did you know there's a Mars helicopter? Well, guess what? There is one. It was named actually through a contest. If you have some kiddos or young adults in your family, every now and then NASA will have, actually I think the European Space Agency does it as well, little contests where you can submit an essay to name various craft. The winner this time was this young lady in front of us here, Vanessa Rupani. She named the Mars helicopter. This helicopter is going to be going to Mars with the Perseverance Mars rover. She named this Mars helicopter Ingenuity because it's really ingenious. Look at it. It's tiny. It's going to be sitting below the Mars rover, apparently, in its transfer craft. And it's going to be in its own little capsule. The Mars rover is going to drop it off, and we're going to look at a video here in a second about it. It's solar powered. It looks like it's made out of carbon fiber. Doesn't weigh more than, I believe, 5 pounds is what I saw. Something like that. 5 kilograms? 5 pounds. That's a big difference. There's a fun story about that as well. If by fun story you mean crashing a craft by using the wrong units, yeah. We could talk about that another time. Nonetheless, yep, there it is. 4 pounds, 2 kilograms. Good. Kind of important to make sure you got that right. Let's take a quick look at how this thing's actually gonna work. Maybe. There it goes. So this is the demonstration of the Mars helicopter. Can't full screen it. Sorry about that. But, yeah. There it is. It's gonna get dropped off by the rover. Rover's gonna back up a distance, and then it's going to admire this beautiful little craft. Now, what's interesting about this is, one, the Martian atmosphere is really, really thin, so I'm curious as to how it's going to generate enough lift. And that's why it's got to be really, really light. And again, the atmosphere is super thin. It's going to have to be really, really powerful to be able to actually lift this thing off the ground. There are going to be cameras. Oh, wait a second. Stop. Look at that. Number one, that's a really good look at the camera mast on this new Mars rover, Perseverance. But more importantly, it's a proud parent. Look at it. Look at it observing its child as it flies up, fly free. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm being over dramatic. But it's still pretty cool. So it's going to sit back and it's going to observe as this thing flies up in the air. It's also going to be transferring telemetry back and forth for the controllers. And ideally, this thing's going to autonomously fly around on its own on a preset path and take some pictures. This would just make traveling around Mars a little bit easier if you could have a secondary craft along with a rover. All of the rovers that have gone to Mars so far have just been solo units. They drive around, they dig, they drill into rocks, they drive around and look at craters from the edges. Sometimes they drive into craters, and that's really about it. This would give a whole new dimension to searching the surface of Mars, particularly if you're going to try to look over some of the larger berms and hills on the planet, because some of them are actually not good for the rovers to try to climb. While the rovers have improved over the years, they still can't drive around and do everything that scientists here would love them to do. So this actually would be a really cool test of, I guess, the first Martian drone, we should call it. I know they're calling it the Mars helicopter, but it's a drone, and this kind of tech is only going to get better and better as things go along. It is high risk, high reward. Oh, and look at that bookshelf. That's amazing. Looks kind of like my bookshelf, except I don't have a cool rocket. Nonetheless, this is really cool tech. If you like tech, cutting edge stuff, I'm going to leave links for all the articles I talk about in the description down below, so you can click around and take a look for yourself. Other interesting things that happened this week. Did you know a giant asteroid flew by? It didn't hit us, obviously, but there was an asteroid that did fly by the planet Earth just a few evenings ago. I'm going to leave 2 articles behind for you. This is actually the Asteroid Orbit. It is a known asteroid. It was discovered in 1998. That's known as 1998 OR2, conveniently named. And 2 different articles I'm going to leave back for this. This is the second article on this same asteroid. This actually had a live stream available to watch the asteroid as it flew by. However, obviously if you're seeing this now, it's May, and so May 1st, and so you've not got a chance to see that. But there are some cool things floating around in these articles. There's actually a radar image of this asteroid tumbling through space as it approached the planet Earth. And as you can see, it did miss us this time, and likely will continue to miss us. There are many, many asteroids out there, and comets as well, that do cross. It's not very high fidelity, I apologize, but that's the best we got. You can see this tumbling rock tumbling through space. Again, almost 2 kilometers, up to 4 kilometers in estimated size. It's a pretty big rock. It did miss us, but you could see it with a good set of binoculars or a telescope in the sky, which was what made this impressive. There's lots of these objects out there, and not a lot of things we can do if they ever actually do come towards the planet Earth, at least right now. Best thing we can do is observe them and keep track of them. This link right here is actually, I believe, the watch party that was being held for it, so you should be able to click on a replay of the live stream and actually watch it as it slowly floated by, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about it. Skipping ahead, we're looking at an article from Sky and Telescope. This actually is really cool. If you like rocks, if you like minerals, there's still space for you in astronomy, because, well, we study moon rocks. We study the rocks on other worlds, such as Mars. We haven't gotten any samples back from the other rocky worlds, such as Mercury or Venus, but we have observed them up close. What we want to talk about here, though, is a really, really cool map. The U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS, the ones that study earthquakes and whatnot, they are a geological service, of course, and they study rocks, and they've actually teamed up with NASA to provide what is possibly the most detailed map of the moon in reference to the actual different minerals on the surface. Now, this article will be down below. There'll be a link in the article which takes you to this page. And this page just gives you a little bit of background information, who to contact if you want to talk to someone, because you can do that. You can also download various chunks of this map. And I will warn you, this link right here, it is a PDF. It is 712 megabytes. If you click it and wait for it to load into your browser, it will do it eventually, but it is 712 megabytes. It will take it a while to do so. Best to download that and then open it up on your desktop. Nonetheless, if you open up some of these things, there we go. There's a close-up of one chunk of the map, and this is actually looking at the Sea of Tranquility in the top right. You'll see the Apollo 11 lander marked right over here. I've also got Apollo 14 over here on the left, and this is looking at, again, kind of the different areas and how, like, this is an asteroid impact, or hitting the surface, making a crater, and then the impact actually kind of spread out around here. This is something completely different, so it's looking at the different mineral compositions and kind of color coding what belongs to what. When you actually download the whole thing, which I did, And it does not want to display because it is huge. Come on, there it goes. I apologize for that. Nonetheless, this is what it looks like when you download the whole thing. It is a PDF. It does take forever, and if you're just looking at it in your browser, it will lag like there's no tomorrow. But you can actually read up on what each of these little color codings mean. Right along here in the middle portion, you've got, looks like polar north on the left, polar south on the right, and then the entire moon laid out from left to right, with the side that faces us in the middle here, and then the side that we don't normally see, the quote-unquote dark side. It's not the dark side, it's the far side of the moon. It does get some light, particularly on new moon phase. All the light's falling on the back side of the moon, so the back side of the moon is on the right side over here, and on the left side over here. And everything we see kind of in between is what we normally see when the moon is out at night. Nonetheless, again, this is a really big PDF. Do use caution if you're going to try to use it in your browser. I suggest downloading it and learning about all the different minerals on our neighbor, the moon. Speaking of interesting things, this one actually came out early this morning, May 1st. We're looking at Europa. Europa is one of the Galilean satellites, named for Galileo Galilei. They are 4 satellites around Jupiter: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Now, Europa is the one that we're talking about here because Europa is an interesting case. Let's actually zoom in on this. There we go. Europa isn't like anything we've ever really seen. Europa has an icy crust, and kind of looks like a melon ball. Nonetheless, this icy crust, supposedly about 15 to 20 miles thick. Depends on who you talk to and if you like using miles. More importantly, there's an ocean, supposedly, underneath this. We don't really know, but it's kind of assumed based on what we see on the surface. The tidal forces between Ganymede, the largest satellite nearby, and the planet Jupiter, the largest planet in the whole solar system, it starts pulling this poor little moon back and forth, and it stretches it and compresses it a little bit, causes a little bit of frictional heat, and that causes the ice to melt somewhere subsurface. And so we assume that there is an ocean 50 to 100 miles deep, give or take. Miles aren't exactly... There's a mouse. Why is my mouse doing that? Okay, the mouse wanted to say hi. I need it anyway to kind of highlight some of these, what they call chaos areas, because these ice blocks shouldn't be the way they are, but that's the thing. That's what we want to investigate. So there's actually going to be a new orbiter being sent to Europa to do really close passes. The one thing no one wants to do is land on the surface. There was a idea to send a lander to like dig through the top layers and see what's under. We don't, if there is an ocean there, we don't want to contaminate it, but Europa is an interesting little world. I will probably have a video about this in a couple of weeks. I want to start doing Astronomy 101 stuff for this channel, and talk planet by planet, and then hopefully moon by moon, interesting moon by interesting moon. Europa is one I would love to talk about. Titan is another satellite I would love to talk about because it has an atmosphere. That's not normal. But if you want to actually see stuff like that, you want to like and subscribe, of course, and keep track of this channel. Finally, we're going to do one other thing. I know we talked a little bit about geology a little bit before, and now we're going to talk about something even more different. It's not just astronomy on this channel that we want to talk about. We're actually going to talk about space weather and Earth weather, Earth sciences. In this case, we are looking at something from JAXA, the Japanese Aeronautical Space Agency, Exploration Agency, I should say. They have this really cool applet on their website. I will again leave a link down below for you to access whenever you want. This does kind of live stream to your browser, so it does take a little while when you click certain things. It actually keeps track of rain on the planet. So I just clicked rain, and you can see this is where rain is happening anywhere on the Earth right now, as we speak, or of course within whatever time frame you'd like to select in the top left. You can actually also add in clouds, so you can see kind of the way the clouds are formed and where they're moving. But here's the interesting thing. This is using a Google Map background. You can actually change it to what's called the blue marble and give it a couple seconds to render in. There we go. Now we have an actual rendering, and again, as you zoom in, it will take a little while to kind of catch up to what you've done. Got to reticulate them splines, as a SimCity used to say. But here's looking at the United States and Central America. There's Venezuela, Brazil, South America. You can add in coastlines, so you can see where the coastlines are. You can add in rivers if you really want your computer to panic. There's all the rivers. South America, North America, over into Japan, China, Vietnam, India. And again, it's live. It's trying to fill in this data live as we go along, so let's let it catch up. It will name a lot of the rivers, and here you can see the Indian subcontinent as it crashes into the Eurasian, or actually the Asian continent, making the large mountains, and of course Mount Everest hiding out in here as well. I got the Middle East, and you see the deserts of North Africa. You can also check different maps. So we got the Google map that we started with. There's an OpenStreetMap, which gives you a slightly different look, better contrast. Blank map, which is literally just the clouds. Unfortunately, I've also clicked on the latitude, longitude. That's only helpful if you're zoomed in. Otherwise, it just looks like a big, utter mess. If you want to go country by country, you can actually select that just by clicking over here on the right side. I want to look at Bangladesh, for example. Click it, give it a couple seconds to render in, downloading all that stuff. So it looks like it's raining over there in Bangladesh at the moment. If you click further down, I don't know, I'm just kind of zooming down, clicking on whatever. Whatever happens to come up is what I'm clicking on. So you can go country by country. You don't have to be locked to Japan or to the United States or anywhere else. This is a global thing. Again, I love all sciences. I love weather. One of us likes to study tornadoes. The other one of us likes to study hurricanes and typhoons, along with studying art and astronomy and astrophysics and many other things that we do. So kind of a cool little tool. You can kind of keep track of things. You can also see how the jet streams work and kind of do some private learning on your own, just watching weather systems as they move around. Yeah. Is that everything I wanted to cover? I think it is. Yeah, that's everything. All right. Well, I've taken up enough of your day. I do appreciate you clicking on this link. If you want to see more random science things like this, or more importantly, keep track of our monthly sky updates and our eventual Astronomy 101 project, you're going to want to like and subscribe. Ring the bell so that you get every update for this channel. I'm hoping to actually get this channel its own customized URL, so it'll actually say Earthshine Education instead of whatever string of stuff YouTube gave us as a link. But that does take more people liking and subscribing to actually give us access to that. We have to actually be, quote, big enough of a channel to be able to use a custom URL. So, if you would please like and subscribe, share this to your friends and family. That's the best way to support the channel right now, is just to help it grow. And then eventually, maybe one day, it will be big enough to either do ads or maybe get some sponsors through the internets, like Skillshare and those other internet companies, as well as Patreon and Coffee. Those are links available in the description box, I should say, down below. If you want to, you're not required to, but if you'd like to help keep the lights on or help buy some hard drives or something like that, always appreciated. Not required, but appreciated. Nonetheless, that is everything we wanted to talk about. Back to our starting image of Mars. Take a look up at the sky tonight. Take a look at the sky every night possible. Hopefully you have clear skies. We'll have more for you next week, and we'll have our sky update up probably tonight or tomorrow, so you know what to look for the month of May. Have a wonderful time. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. Take care.